Hi my loves, welcome back or welcome to a brand new video. I'm sorry this video is coming out very late. By the time I'm filming this video it is actually the start of June and I've just been so busy in between filming so many different videos that I actually completely forgot about my wrap up. So today I thought it was the perfect time to film my May wrap up for you guys. Obviously I just posted my June TBR about a week ago now because it's taken me so long to just like make this video, but I was just trying to finish off some books that I had. I was kind of just like thinking about what I wanted to rate these books. Some of these books you've seen in vlogs and some of them are in vlogs that are coming up, but I'm really excited for this wrap up because I would say in general it's my best reading month. I think I only have one book that's lower than 3 stars. Apart from that, most of them are 4 stars and above, and I had some really good reads. So in the month of May I managed to read 11 books, 8 physical books and then 3 on my Kindle. 2 of them I did read on my Kindle, but I'm counting them as physical books just because I have the physical book, and 3 of them I read solely on my Kindle. And I'm going to go over, I think, the Kindle ones first and then my physical books. On my phone I just wrote a few little notes, so let me get them up because they have the ratings, because with me I just realised my attention span on certain things is appalling, especially like the books that I read. Like I might enjoy a book and give it 4 stars, 4.5, but best believe at the end of the month I completely forget what the book's about. Well, not what the book's about but the characters, but I definitely don't forget the feeling. Some of them I'm not going to go too much into depth just because I have vlogs coming out for them, and then obviously vlogs that I literally just posted, so go watch that if you want more detail. But I will be going over like my general view and then my ratings, and yeah, that is really it for this video. But of course, before we start, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe, the usual YouTube stuff, follow my socials down below. I hope you guys are all okay. I love you guys so much. So let me stop talking and let's get to it, and let's talk about all the books that I read in May. First up, we're going to talk about my Kindle reads. So the first 2 books were actually part of a series. There's 3 books in the series. One hasn't come out yet, but the first 2 books I read. So the first book is The Brightest Light of Sunshine, and then the second book is The Darkest Corner of the Heart. So the first book, The Brightest Light of Sunshine, these 2 characters, I fell in love with them. So he is a tattoo artist and I think she's a ballerina or something like that, and she's quite timid. She has a lot going on in her family background, and one day she decides to go to a tattoo shop to get a tattoo because I think her cousin, is like gets his tattoos done all the time, and upon going to like think about getting tattoos, she meets this guy called Cal and he's a tattoo artist, and from there a friendship blossoms, and from then on I was just obsessed with this couple. I just discovered them on Kindle because this was when, at the point where I was starting to have a book slump. Like I hadn't read for about a week and a half and I really wanted to read something that was light-hearted and I hadn't heard of. So I just went on my Kindle, was browsing, and I found this book, and because I enjoyed it so much I decided to obviously read the second book. But this first book I decided to give a 4.5 just because it was so good. It was so fast-paced, the vibes, the friends to lovers. Like I'm a sucker for friends to lovers. Like I would always give friends to lovers a 4 stars at least if it's executed really well, and I really loved this because they came from strangers to lovers thing, and it's also like a grumpy ex-Sunshine vibe, and also he takes care of his sister, and like seeing that in a guy in a book alongside single dad just makes me fall in love. And I was just obsessed with this couple, obsessed with the series. I really loved the found family aspect as well, so I really enjoyed that. And then next I read The Darkest Corner of the Heart, which is book 2, which follows another 2 characters, and this one I decided to give a 4.25/4 stars because I didn't enjoy it as much, but I loved the fact that it was the same world. We saw the other characters from the other book. In this book it focuses on 2 characters. So we meet Maddie. She had an injury. I think she's actually the one that's the dancer. I think the other one, I don't think she was a dancer. I think she was a student or something like that. In this one she's a dancer. She hurts her ankle and she thinks she's never going to be able to dance again, and she ends up having to have like a physicist. Is it physicist or I don't even know what they're called, and he basically helps her with her leg, and obviously along the way you can probably guess what happens. It's like a forbidden relationship. I think she's younger than him, so it has the age gap, and I'm really excited for the next book because I think it features the main 2 characters in the first book, their daughter or something like that. But I think it is that, now thinking about all the series, I think the first book obviously is 2 characters, and then the second book is about the boys sister. So obviously I said the first book he takes care of his sister, the second one is when she's grown up. So what I loved about that aspect is you see her kind of as a child, and then you get into the next book where you see her as a grown adult, so you already kind of have an attachment to her from seeing her when she was younger to older. It's definitely like a found family, friends to lovers, everyone knows each other, small town, age gap, Grumpy X Sunshine, so good. So if you want to check out this series, I definitely recommend checking it out. And then next up we read Empire of Hate, which I ended up giving a 2.5 stars. I actually really do enjoy her books. I usually give them around 3 stars. It was fast paced, easy to read, but I just didn't like the characters, I'm not gonna lie, especially the main character. So it's about 2 people, they know each other from when they're younger, but it doesn't end well, and then like 10 years later they meet again, but he's her boss, and I think it's kind of like a bully situation. So she kind of bullied him when they were younger, and obviously he's coming to take revenge, and it's obviously a false proximity, obviously second chance romance, enemies to lovers, so much that happens. But the male protagonist, I just really didn't like him, really didn't like him. This wasn't a dark romance, but it definitely had elements, and it was attempting to be like have a lot of depth, but I just didn't feel connected to the characters, I'm not gonna lie. The female character a little bit for like the stuff she went through, but the main character, him, I just didn't like him. But yeah, that was the one that I read. Nothing really much to say to it. So we're going to move on now to our physical books. So obviously physical books, I read 8 books. We're just going to go over in order of what it is on my stack. So the first book that I read in physical form is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the last book in the Chestnut Spring series, and this book was so good. It was amazing. Boo and Bailey. This is what I mean when I talk about the characters. Like when I know the characters' names, you know that I've enjoyed the book. If I know 1 or 2 of the characters' names, it means me kind of didn't remember it. But this book was everything. I decided to give this book a 4.75. It was so close to a 5-star. The only reason it didn't get a 5-star is because I didn't have that feeling for a 5-star, and I was really frustrated. I really wanted it to be a 5-star, but it's just not my favourite in the series. But this couple is definitely up there for one of my favourite couples. Boo, my babes, like I love Boo throughout the whole series. Bailey, I don't think we ever met her, maybe met her once or twice, but her character as well. Boo is obviously ex-military, he has a lot of trauma, PTSD, he meets Bailey, she's a bartender, she has a very hard home life, and they've kind of already known each other. So he's seen as a town hero, whereas she's seen as kind of a town trash because of her family, and they live on like opposite sides, so their family homes are on opposite sides of each other. So they have a bit of a rivalry, but a friendship blossoms between Boo and Bailey. And let me tell you this relationship, this friendship was amazing. Like this is one of my favourite friends to lovers books I've ever read in my life. Boo owns my heart. Like he is just like a fluffy, cuddly teddy bear. Like I just wanted to hug him half the time. He blames himself for a lot of stuff that he went through, especially in terms of the army, and he had a lot going on. Same with Bailey, so he's always been quite protective anyway, because obviously he's a soldier. But he meets Bailey, sees kind of how she's treated, and has always had a need to protect her even when they hadn't even spoken to each other. So obviously a friendship blossoms, and they decide to be fake engaged, because obviously she says she's always treated badly. She works as a bartender because she can't really get a job anywhere else in town because people refuse to employ her because of her family background. This book didn't even have really a 3rd act breakup. They had like a little scene, but it was resolved quite quickly. These characters got over themselves. Bailey, I really loved her character. I just felt so protective over Bailey. Like I was shouting when I was reading this book. I was screaming, I was giggling, I was blushing. This book as well is very much like slow burn, but when it happens, your girl was blushing. Your girl was blushing. I was obsessed. I felt the tension between these 2 characters, and I was just obsessed with it. I'm so sad this series is over, but I did manage to annotate it, which I'm really happy about. So I have little annotations, and I'm definitely going to be rereading the series when I can, because this series owns my heart. It easily comes up to one of my favourite series that I've read in terms of romance, at least for this year. I love the found family aspect of it as well. Like I loved seeing all the other characters, and I love the epilogue as well. was flipping amazing. And yeah, I'm just so happy I read this book. And think about it now, it was so close to a 5 stars, like so close, so close. I don't even think I remember. There was another point about why I didn't give it 5 stars, but I literally can't remember. One of my top favourites of the series, so good. And now we're going to talk about a little crime / thriller book that I read. This one I have a vlog about, so I'm not going to really talk about much about it, but this one, this is a murder mystery. It's called And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I decided to give this book a 4 stars. Since I read The Housemaid, I've just been in a need and urge to read more crime / thriller books, and this book was so good. It had the kind of old vibes, the vintage vibes. I love the poem aspect of it, the mystery, the dinner party reminds me of the game Clue, where someone gets murdered and they all have to kind of find out. And the way this book wrapped up was really good. The things I didn't like is I wasn't really satisfied about who was the killer. What this book did really well is that it kept you guessing for a while. Like, I thought characters were the killer until they died, and then I was like, what the hell? And then when they did reveal the killer, I was just like, why? Like, why? Like, it didn't really make sense. Also as well, I didn't really like the old kind of feel of it. I feel like there were some parts where I was kind of like, let me go to sleep, but half the time I did really enjoy it. I was really involved with it. I read this within like a few days. I read it on like a summery day. It's definitely like a good crime murder mystery for the summertime because it's so easy to read. I think it's like 250 pages. So much fun. Definitely reminds me of like so many like different murder mystery like games and movies, and it felt like a movie whilst I was reading it, and I really enjoyed it. But if you want more details and more little bit of review of this book, go check out the vlog. I will link it down below. Next up we have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armes. This book was so good. So this book features Catalina and Aaron. It is a fake dating, enemies to lovers, forced proximity couple, and it's definitely a guys falls first. That's all I'm gonna say. Guys falls first. This book I decided to give a 4.25. It was so good. Like, I was obsessed with this book. I was so obsessed, like within the first 100 pages I decided that I wanted to get the Fairy Loot special edition. Like, I was like, I need a special edition. Went online and I saw Fairy Loot did one, which will be in my own boxes if you can't tell by all the parcels I have there. But this book was so good. The only thing I would say about this book that I didn't like is I felt it was too long. They get together pretty early on, at least in my opinion. It is definitely slow burn, like they don't really do anything until later on, but I just felt it was just too long for me. But it didn't feel too long whilst I was reading it. Like, I read it quite quickly, but there were moments that I was like, that's not needed. But I really enjoyed it. I love the wedding vibes. I love the fact that they went from like enemies to friends to lovers, not straight from like enemies to lovers. It was very heated. The tension, it was like enemies to lovers ish, I would say, because it's guys falls first. Sometimes enemies aren't actually enemies, and that's what I'm really going to say on that. But I really enjoyed it. So cozy, and I definitely want to read more from this author because I haven't actually read anything from her. I've had this on my shelf for ages. I've been putting off reading it, but now that I've read it, I was like, why haven't I read it sooner? So if you haven't read this book and you want to get into Lena Armes, I definitely recommend this because it was so good, so cozy, so fluffy duffy, and yes, perfect romance, and it had the right amount of smut. So I definitely recommend reading it if you haven't. And then next up, I read The Brutal Prince, or Brutal Prince by Sophie Locke. This is the first book in the Brutal Birthright series, and this book was so good. It is a mafia kind of dark romance. I gave this book a 3.75, I believe, or a 4 stars. This book was so good. It was so good. I was putting this off. I actually had this on my bookshelf for quite a while now, but I just kept putting it off for some reason. But I finally started this series, and let me tell you this, we're 4 days into June and I've already read the second book. What I love about this book is the use of photos, or the use of like drawings. I just love it. It just feels like it brings the story more alive. I will say I wasn't fully attached to the characters in this book. I did really love it. It is a enemies to lovers. So basically, their two families hate each other, but their families arrange for the oldest son and the youngest daughter to get married, and I think they get married really early on, and yeah, she goes to live with him, yada yada yada, feelings get involved, and yeah, I really enjoyed both sides of the family. I loved seeing like all the family kind of getting involved. So obviously you had the couple themselves having conversations and scenes, but you also had the families getting involved. There was also like some type of plot, chaos, that type of stuff, and I really enjoyed that, and it was just so easy to read as well. So I'm really happy I read it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. Next up in May, I read Redeemed by Lauren Asher. This book is the 4th book in the Dirty Air series, and what a way to end this series. I have a video coming out which regards this book, and all I'm gonna say, Chloe and Santiago, I'm obsessed with them. I'm obsessed. Like the way it was just so cute. This book was so cute. I feel like this book was definitely like a it's fake dating, friends to lovers, but yeah, just so good. I love the F1. Like, this series has made me enjoy F1. Like, I'm not a car girly. Like, I'm not really interested in cars, but reading this book, like, I actually want to go and watch an F1 match. Like, I know this ain't going to be fully realistic of what happens, but just I was actually interested in the descriptions, and for me that's actually something that I struggle with. Like, I struggle to enjoy books when I don't know the topic. So for example, I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I found it personally boring because the way she explained chess wasn't interesting to me, whereas this book, the way the F1 driving is explained and described, it was very like enjoyable. I think very hectic, but I think as well the sport is very hectic compared to chess, which is quite slow. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was so good. Like, I was crying, like the cliffhangers, but the way it was kind of resolved was really good as well. Like, I would say that these two might be my favourite couple in this series. It is what a way to end this series. Like, this book had the depth. I definitely say the last 2 books have more depth, and this couple, I love them so much. I love also seeing the other characters, like for example Maya and Noah. Seeing them in this book made me love them even more. Like, their book is not my favourite. I did enjoy it, but it's not my favourite. But seeing them in this book made me love them even more. I just feel so happy for them. And as well, the epilogue of this book, like, it just melted my heart. And this book and this series, Lauren Asher, I wasn't surprised that she was going to do amazing. Like, the Dreamland Billionaire series did nothing but 8. I did end up giving this book a 4.75. It was only a little bit off of 5 stars because there were bits and pieces that I got a bit bored at, and also I feel like it was just way too long. I feel like if it was about 350 pages, maybe touching on 400, perfect, but because it's more closer to 500 pages, I felt like it was a little bit too long. And I would definitely say the second half of the book really sold me. Like, from after 100 pages, I was really invested in the characters, really wanted to know more, and I just loved the friends to lovers aspect. And yeah, that trope, if I was to talk about tropes, yeah, and my favourite tropes, friends to lovers, easily. Friends to lovers and slow burn. If anyone has any suggestions, I'll be open to all of them. Come on, tell me, I'll be open. So next up we have Hunting Adeline by H.D. Charlton. This is the second book in the Cat and Mouse series, and can you see the smile on my face? This series is my heart. Like, don't be daunted. It is a thick book. She's a thickum, but she's amazing. Hands down, my favourite dark romance. Hands down. Hands down. Alongside the Devil's Night series, this little duet, little duology, whatever they call it, chef's kiss. Like, your gal was hooked. She was hooked. I cried. I laughed. I'm not gonna lie, this book is 10 times darker than the first one. Don't read this if you're under 18. Don't even read this if you're under 21. only read it if you like dark romance and you're above at least 18, because this book was dark. What I love about this author is she is not afraid to highlight these topics, and I think a bloody good author is someone that is able to make it realistic and in depth, that you love the characters, that you feel the emotions that they're going through, that you're like devastated for them but happy at the same time when they do heal and when they do reach that point where they're confident in themselves. And this series, it's not even just the romance aspect, it's the mystery. And Zaid, where is my Zaid? That's what I'm saying. Like, every red flag that would have been a red flag is a green flag in this book. Like, everything he would do that in real life is a red flag was a green flag. Like, if he was a real human being, I would be running that direction. But in a book, I'm running in that direction, because this book, amazing, obsessed. If you love dark romance and you're not afraid, read this series, because you won't be disappointed. In terms of obviously ratings based off that, I decided to give this book a 4.75 just because it was too dark for me. I'm not gonna lie, it was a teeny bit too dark. And your girl, I was crying like a baby. Like, I haven't cried in that long, and that book made me cry like a baby. The only reason why it had a bit of a lesser rating is because it was too dark. And yeah, it would have been a 5-star. If it wasn't as dark as that, it would have been a 5-star easily. But still, I really enjoyed it. Amazing. And yeah, if you want to see my full reaction for everything, go and watch the video that will be coming out later this month. And yeah, really enjoyed it, and I'm sad that the series is over. Another series that I'm finished, and I just feel depressed. But I'm really excited to start some new series, but doesn't mean that we're not going to ever reread them again. I will be definitely reading all these series again, because why not? Why not? What's the point of having a book to read it once? Having a physical copy means you can just go back anytime, pick it off my shelves and read it. So I'm really excited to do reread of maybe some of these books. And again, talking about series, the series doesn't stop here, guys. It doesn't stop. We finished another series. We finished A Curse of True Love by Stephanie Garber. This book, what a way to end the series, guys. It's just magical. That's all I got to say. One word about this book, it is magical. I will say, I was disappointed, and I do understand why people are highly disappointed in the series and how it ended. I will say my favourite book is The Ballad of Never After. The Ballad of Never After, which is the second book. That book was just so good. Like, it has so much adventure, action, mystery, magic. This book had that, but at the same time I was bored at aspects. Like, when Jax wasn't there, I was bored. Like, he was a character that was the highlight of this series for me. But their relationship as well, Evangeline and Jax, the aesthetic of them two, the blue and the pink, the light and darkness, like, chef's kiss. I really enjoyed it. I did a little bit of reading the audiobook whilst I was reading this, and that was so good. The playlist as well. If you're a girly that wants to get into fantasy, I definitely recommend audiobooks and music playlists in terms of reading it. I feel like it just sets the scene more. It helps with the world building, you imagining the characters and what's happening. I decided to give this one a 4 stars because, of course, it's not my favourite one, but I do feel like it was still a good way of ending the story. I loved it more for the nostalgia and the magical element. It definitely felt like a child again, and it felt like not a childish storyline, because it's not childish, but it gave me those same feelings that I had when I was younger and I was reading like Harry Potter as an adult. I feel like as you get older you can kind of lose those feelings and outlooks in terms of stories, but with this series I definitely felt like a child again, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend if you want something that's magical, very fairy tale like, and has like the suspense, characters that you're gonna meet, that you're gonna love, the morally grey male character, and yeah, it was really good. And now we're on to the final but not last and not least book at all. Like, this book was amazing. It was amazing. And if you guys can guess what it is. that is my reaction to the book. If that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what does. 5 stars. Book, I just don't know really what to say. This book took me through a whirlwind. I was scared to read this book. I had read Fourth Wing, absolutely adored it, and I was scared to read this book. 1, because of the size of it, and 2, that cliffhanger. What was that? And also, what was the ending of this book? Like, this book put my heart together. Broke it. Put it back together. Broke it. Put it back together. And then bloody broke it again. Aiden and Violet. I'm just so sad now. I have to wait like 6 months, 7 months until the next book. This book. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Loving the series, and if you love fantasy, read this because it was amazing. But yeah, that was literally all of the books I read in May. Every single one I read. And I feel like there's more to say, but there isn't. But yeah, I enjoyed all these books. As you've seen, I think the lowest one was a 2.5. Only one of them. But I feel like I'm getting really good at like picking books, as I've said, that I know I'm going to enjoy. So excited for summer reading. I'm excited for my June TBR, which you guys can see over here. Really excited for all the content I have for June as well. All the summer videos I have planned, all the vlogs. If you guys have any ideas of what videos you want to see, let me know. I really want your input in these videos because these videos are for you. Like, as much as they're for me, and I do it because I love it and I find them fun to watch back myself. Like, I find myself watching my own videos. I know that's a bit weird, but I want you guys to enjoy the videos as well, and I know you guys do. Well, I hope you do. And yeah, I'm just grateful for every single one of you guys, and yeah, I'm happy that this is part of, well, it's not my job because I don't get paid for it, but it's my hobby, it's my life, and yeah, I just love every single one of you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed going over all the books I read in May. Have you read any of these books? What did you think about them? If you haven't read any of these books, are you intrigued to read any of them? And yeah, stick around for my vlogs because a lot of these books are in vlogs. I didn't really know how to do this because the vlog is not out yet, but I had to do the wrap up, so it was a little bit of a weird one. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are okay. How's your week going? How's your day going? But yeah, that is it for today. I will see you guys all in my next video. I hope you guys stay blessed, and as I always say, I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Estoy enamorada porque cuando veo cosas muy bonitas pienso en ti como un cabecito en la primavera.